called Odd Town. It was written by Thornton Wilder, produced by Melissa J. Furman, and directed by Mrs. Judy Healy. Now, in it, you will see Mr. Trent Reynolds, Mr. Mike Thatcher, and Mr. Cleve May, along with Miss Emily Swenson, Miss Carrie Leininger, and Mr. Jeff Nielsen. Oh, and a whole lot of others. Too many to mention, actually. Now, the name of our town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire. Right over the border from Massachusetts. Latitude, 42 degrees, 40 minutes. Longitude, 70 degrees, 37 minutes. Now, the first act shows the day in our town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. Just about. The sky is beginning to show some streaks of light over in the east there, back of our mountain. The morning star always gets wonderful bright the minute before it has to go. Well, now I'll show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Crossing it over there on the left are the railroad tracks. Across the tracks is Polish Town. You know, foreign families come to work in the mill, a couple of Canuck families, and the Catholic Church. The Congregational Church is over there. Presbyterians across the street. Methodists and Unitarian are over there. Baptist is down the hall, by the river. Next to the post office there is the town hall. Jail's in the basement. Brian once made a speech from those steps there. Along Main Street, there's a row of stores, hitching posts and horse blocks in front of them. First automobiles due along them about 5 years. Belonged to Bank of Carter. Our town's richest citizen. Lives up there in that big white house. Up there on the hill. Here's a grocery store, Mr. Morgan's drugstore. Most everybody in town manages to stop by these two stores at least once a day. Nice town. You know, nobody very remarkable ever come out of it, so far as we know. Earliest dates on the tombstones up there say 1660 to 1670. They're Grovers and Cartwrights, Gibbses and Herseys. Same names as around here now. Now, our town doctor is named Doc Gibbs, and this is his house. And this is Mrs. Gibbs' garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhock, heliotrope, and a lot of burdock. Here's a couple fences for those that feel they have to have scenery. In those days, our newspaper came out twice a week. The Grover's Corners Sentinel. And this is Editor Webb's house. And this is Mrs. Webb's garden. It's a lot like Mrs. Gibbs, only it's got some sunflowers too. Right here is a big butternut tree. Very calm. As I said, it's early morning. Here comes Doc Gibbs, back from that baby case in Polish Town. And here comes his wife downstairs to get breakfast. Doc Gibbs died in 1930. New hospital's named after him. Miss Gibbs died much earlier, long time ago in fact. She went out to visit her daughter Rebecca in Canton, Ohio. Got pneumonia and died there. But her body was brought back here. She's up there in the cemetery now, in with a whole mess of Gibbses and Harrises. She was Julia Hersey before she married Doc Gibbs over at the Congregational Church over there. In our town, we like to know the facts about everybody. There's Miss Webb come downstairs to get her breakfast, too. That's Doc Gibbs. Got the call to go to Polish town at 1:30 this morning. And here comes Joe Kroll, delivering Mr. Webb's Sentinel.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Joe.
Want your paper now?
Sure, I'll take it. I see here your teacher, Miss Fox, is going to get married.
Yes, sir. To a fellow over in Concord.
How do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course it ain't none of my business. But I feel if a person starts out to be a teacher, she ought to stay with it.
How's he need, Joe?
Fine, Doc. I never think about it at all. Only like you said, it always tells me when it's going to rain.
What's telling you today, Joe? Going to rain?
No, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Do you ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
I want to tell you something about that boy, Joe Kroll over there. Awful bright, Joe was. Graduated from the high school here, head of his class. So he got a scholarship to go to Boston Technical, MIT. Graduated head of his class there, too. It was all written up in the Boston papers at the time. Yes, awful bright Joe was. But, you know, the war broke out. He died in France. He was going to be a great engineer, and all that education just went for nothing. What business he had picking a quarrel with the Germans, we still can't figure out to this day. But it was all perfectly clear to us at the time.
Giddy up, Bessie. Come on, girl. Bessie, Bessie.
That's how I knew some of Bessie, delivering the milk.
Well, good morning, Doc.
Morning, Johnny.
Is somebody sick?
Oh, no, just our twins going over to Miss Gorbaslowski.
Twins, eh? This town's getting bigger every year.
Is it going to rain today, Johnny?
No, fine day. You'll burn through. Come on, Bessie. Come on, girl.
Good morning, Bessie. How old is she, Joe?
Going on 17. Bessie hears all mixed up about the route ever since the Lockharts stopped kicking their quarter milk every day. She keeps on wanting to leave them a quart just the same. She keeps scolding me the whole trip. Well, good morning, Miss Gibbs.
Good morning, Howie.
Doc's just come down the street.
It seems like you're late today.
Something went wrong with separator. Don't know what was. Doc.
Children, time to get up. George, Rebecca. Everything all right, Frank?
Oh, yes, I declare. Easy as kittens.
Bacon will be ready in a minute. You can sit down and drink your coffee.
This one was number 11. I guess I know it's about 2. Her stomach ain't pretty ought to be.
Get a couple hours sleep this morning, can't you? I declare. All told, you won't get more than 3 hours sleep. Frank gets, I don't know what's going to become of you. I do wish you could go away someplace and take a trip. Oh, I think it would do you good. Emily, time to get up. Wally, 7 o'clock. I declare you got to speak to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. I can't even get him to cut me some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
Oh no, he just whines. All he thinks about is that baseball. George, Rebecca, you'll be late for school. George?
George, look sharp.
Yes, Mom!
George, don't you hear your mother calling you?
Wally, you'll be late for school.
I guess I'll go upstairs before it comes.
Wally, you watch yourself good. Or I'm gonna come up there and do it myself. Mom, what dress shall I wear? Don't make a noise. Your father's been out all night and he needs his rest. I ironed and washed the blue gingham for you special. Oh, Mom, Oh, now hush up with you. Every day I go to school dressed like a sister. Oh, now, Rebecca, you always look very nice. Mama, George is throwing soap at me. I'll come up and slap the both of you, that's what I'll do.
We got a factory in our town, too. Hear it? Makes blankets. Cartwrights on it. It's running a fortune.
Children, no, I won't have it. Breakfast is just as good as any other meal, and I won't have you gobble in like wolves. It'll stunt your growth. That's a fact. Wally, put your book away.
Oh, Mom, by 10 o'clock I gotta know all about Canada.
Wally, you know the rules as well as I do. No books at the table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mama. Well, you know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age. I have a wonderful memory.
Eat your breakfast.
Well, I'm right too, Mom. When I'm looking at my stamp collection.
Now, George, I'll speak to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me 25 cents a week's enough for a boy your age. I declare I don't know how you spend it all.
Oh, Ma, I've got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry frosting, that's what you spend it on.
I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than a dollar.
That's because I've been saving it up gradual. Now, dear, I think it's a good thing to spend some every now and then. Oh, Mama, do you know what I love most in this world? Do you? Money. Eat your breakfast. Here's the first bell. Knock it out. Now walk fast, but you don't have to run. Wally, pull up your pants to the knee. Tell the boss I sent her my best and congratulations. Can you remember that? Yes, Ma. You look real nice, Rebecca. Pick up your feet. Here, chick, 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 chick. Here, chick, chick. No, you go away. Here, chick, chick. What's the matter with you? Bite, bite, bite. That's all you do. Hey, where'd you come from? You don't belong to me. Oh, don't be scared. No one's going to hurt you. Good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold? Well, I still get that tickly feeling in my throat every now and then. Told Charles that I didn't know I'd go to choir rehearsal tonight. Have you tried singing over your voice? Yes, but somehow I can't do that and stay on key. While I'm resting myself, I thought I'd string some of these beans. Well, let me help you. Beans have been good this year. I decided to put up 40 quarts if it kills me. Children say they hate them, but I know they're able to get them down all winter. Myrtle, I've got to tell you something, because if I don't tell somebody, I'll burst. Why, Julia Gibbs! Myrtle's one of those second-hand furniture men from Boston come to see you last Friday. No. Well, he called on me. At first, I thought he was a patient wanting to see Dr. Gibbs, and he wormed his way into my parlor, and Myrtle Webby offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highboy. As I'm sitting here. Why, Julia Gibbs! He did that old thing. Why, it was getting so big, I didn't know what to do with it, and I almost gave it to Cousin Hester Wilcox. Well, you're going to take it, aren't you? Oh, I don't know. You don't know. $350 would come over you. Well, if I could get the doctor to take the money and go away someplace on a trip, I'd sell it like that. Oh, you know, Myrtle, it's been the dream of my life to see Paris crash. Oh, I don't know. Sounds crazy, I suppose. But I've been promising myself that if I ever got the chance... How did the doctor feel about it? Well, I did beat about the bush a little and told him that if I got a legacy, that's the way I put it, then I'd make him take me. What did he say? Oh, now you know how he is. I haven't heard a serious word out of him since I've known him. No, he says it might make him discontented with Grover's Quarters to go traipsing about Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. You know, every 2 years, Myrtle, he takes a trip to the battlefields of the Civil War. And that's enough treat for anybody, he says. Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Dr. Gibb knows everything about the Civil War.
Mr. Webb's a good mind to give up Napoleon and move over to the Civil War. Only Dr. Gibbs, being one of the finest experts in the country, just makes him despair. In fact, Gibbs is never as happy as when he's in Antietam or Gettysburg.
Oh, the times I've walked over those hills, Myrtle.
Stopping at every bush and pacing it all out like we was going to buy it.
Well, Julia, if that second-hand man's really serious about buying it, you sell it. And you'll get to see Paris all right. You just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it.
Only it seems to me that once in your life before you die, you ought to get to see a country where they don't talk in English and don't even want to.
Thank you very much, ladies. Now we'll skip a few hours here, folks. But first, we'd like a little bit more information about our town. Kind of a scientific account, you might say. So I've asked Professor Willard of our state university to come in and sketch in a few details for us. Professor Willard? May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university? Just a few brief notes, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Gravis Corners. Let me see. Gravis Corners lies on the old Pliocene granite, the Appalachian Run. I may say it's some of the oldest land in the world. I'm very proud of that here. There are, of course, some more recent outcroppings. Sandstone, showing through a shelf of Diverdian basalt. And some vestiges of Mesozoic shell. These all, of course, are comparatively new. 2, 4, 300 million years old. Some highly interesting fossils have been found. I may say unique fossils. North of the Peckham Farm. Inside is Peckham's cow pasture. These will be on display at the museum at the university any time. That is, any reasonable time. Shall I read some of Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation? Mean precipitation, etc.?
I'm afraid we won't have time for that, Professor. We might have a few brief words on the history of man here. You know. Yes.
Early Amerindian stock, Cotahatchee tribes, no evidence before the 10th century of this era. They're entirely disappeared. No, possible traces in 3 families. Migration in the early part of the 17th century of English brachiocephalic blue-eyed stock. Since then, some Slav and Mediterranean.
And the population, Professor Willard?
Within the town limits, population is 2,640. What is that?
Yeah, just a moment, Professor.
Sorry, my fault. Population at the moment is 2,642. Coastal district brings in 507 more, making a total of 3,149. Mortality and birth rates constant, mind you, by McPherson's gauge 6.032.
Thank you very much, Professor Willard. I'm sure we're all very much obliged.
Not at all!
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Willard.
Thank you!
Now for the political and social report. Editor Webb?
He'll be here in a minute. He just cut his hand while stealing an apple.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Webb.
Charles, everybody's waiting!
Mr. Webb is publisher and editor of the Groveland Star Sentinel. That's our local paper. tell you that we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21. Women vote indirect. The lower middle class, really. Sprinkling in professional men. 10% of laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republicans, 6% Democrats, 4% Socialists, and, well, the rest indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestants, 12% Catholics, the rest indifferent. A few comments. It's a very ordinary town, if you ask me. A little better behaved than most. Probably a lot duller. But our young people seem to like it well enough. See, 90% of them graduate from high school, settle right down here to live, even when they've been away to college. Now, is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask Editor Webb any questions about our town?
Is there much drinking in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, I don't know what you'd call much. Saturday night, the farmhands, they meet down at Ellery Greenoff's stable and polish some, and we got two town drunks, but they're always having remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, ma'am, I'd say liquor ain't a regular thing in the home here, except in the medicine chest. Right good for the snake bite, always was.
Is there no one in this town?
Come forward, will you, where we can all hear you?
Is there no one in this town aware of social injustice and industrial inequality?
Oh, yes, it's something terrible. Seems like everybody spends most of their time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Why doesn't anyone do anything about it?
I don't know, I guess we're all not like everyone else for the way that the good and sensible can rise on top of it. The lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom, but it ain't easy to find. Meanwhile, we do all we can to help those who can't help themselves. Those who can't take care of themselves, we pretty much leave alone. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Webb.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Webb, is there any culture or love of beauty in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, there isn't much. Not by the sense of y'all mean. Come to think of it, some girls play piano over at high school commencement. But they ain't too happy about it. Oh, man, there isn't much culture. But maybe this is a place to tell you that we've got a lot of pleasures of a kind here. We like the sun coming over the mountain in the morning. We all notice the birds. We pay a great deal of attention to them. There's the change of the seasons. Yes, everybody knows about them. But those other things, ma'am, right, there isn't much. Robinson Crusoe, and the Bible, and Handel's Lago. We all know about that. Whistler's Mother, that's about as far as we go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Webb.
Enjoy the show.
Now we'll get back to the town. It's 2:30. All 2,642 have had their lunches, and all the dishes have been washed. The children are back in school. There's a buzzing and a humming coming from the school buildings. There are a few buggies on Main Street, horses dozing at the hitching post. You all know what it's like. An early afternoon calm has sort of settled about the town. Doc Gibbs is over there in his office tapping people and making them say, and Mr. Webb is over there cutting his lawn. 1 man in 10 thinks it's a privilege to push his own lawnmower.
Nice catch, George.
Fox, simply who do you think you are today?
Oh, Papa, you're terrible. Well, when many are telling you to stand up straight and next you're calling me names? I just don't listen to you.
I never got a kiss from such a great lady before.
Excuse me, Mrs. Forrest.
Young man, you should go play in the fields. You have no right playing baseball on Main Street.
Awful sorry, Mrs. Forrest. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
You made a fine speech in class today.
Well, I was really ready to make it on the Monroe Doctrine, but at the last minute, Miss Cochran changed it to Louisiana Purchase. I worked awful hard on both of them.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your head nights when you do your homework over in your room.
Why? Can you?
You sure do stick to it, Emily. I don't see how you can sit that long. I guess you must like school.
Well, I always feel it's something you have to go through.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, really. It passes the time.
Yeah. Hey, Emily, what do you think? We might work out some kind of a telegraph system from your window to mine. And every once in a while, you could give me kind of a hint on one of those algebra problems. I don't mean answers, Emily. Of course not. Just some kind of...
Well, I think hints are allowed. So, you get stuck, George. Well, you whistle to me and I'll give you some hints.
You're just naturally bright, I guess.
Oh, I just figure it's the way a person's born.
Yeah, but you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says, whenever I'm ready, I can come over and work on his farm. And if I'm any good, I can just gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, I better be getting out to the baseball field, Emily. Thanks for the talk. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, Dodge.
So long, Emily.
So long, George. Emily, come and help me string these beans for the winter. Well, George Gibbs let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? He's growing up so fast. How old is he now?
Well, I don't know.
Well, let's see. He must be almost 16.
Mama, I made a speech in class today and I was very good.
Well, you must recite it to your father at supper. What was it about?
Louisiana Purchase. Well, it was like silk off a spool. I'm going to make speeches all my life. Mama, are these big enough?
Try and get them a little bigger if you can, dear.
Mama, will you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear? Not serious.
Seriously.
Will you? Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Of course you are. Both my children got good features. I'd be ashamed if they hadn't.
Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, I'm pretty.
I've already told you yes. Now that's enough of that. You've got a nice, young, pretty face. I've never heard of such foolishness.
Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything.
I am telling you the truth.
Mama, are you pretty?
Well, yes, I was, if I do say it. I was the prettiest girl in town next to Mamie Cartwright.
Oh, Mama, well, you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody, to get people interested in me?
Oh, Emily, now stop it. You make me tired. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes. Come along now, bring that bowl with you.
Mama, you're no help at all.
I think that now would be a good time to tell you that the Cartwright interests have begun to build a new bank in Grove, Wisconsin. they've had to go to Vermont. Vermont was hard to say. But they've asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people to dig up 1,000, 2,000 years from now. We put in a copy of the New York Times and a copy of Mr. Webb's Sentinel, of course. We're awful interested in this because some scientific fellas have found a way to cool all of that reading matter with a type of glue, a type of silicate glue that'll make it last 1,000, 2,000 years. Of course, we put in a copy of the Bible and a copy of the Constitution of the United States and a copy of William Shakespeare's plays. What do you say, folks? What do you think? You know, Babylon once had over 2 million people. And all we know about them is the names of some kings and the copies of some wheat contracts and the sales of slaves. Yes, every night, all those fathers came home from work and the smoke went up the chimney and the family sat down to dinner, same as here. And even in Greece and Rome, all we really know about them is what we can piece together from the comedies and the joking poems they wrote for the theater back then. So, I'm going to have a copy of this script put in the cornerstone so that people 1,000 years from now will know more than a few simple facts about it. More than the Treaty of Versailles or the Lindbergh flight. So, people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the provinces north of New York at the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were in our growing up, and in our marrying, and in our living, and in our dying. We'll get back to the town now. It's evening. You can hear choir practice going on over in the Congregational Church. The children at home doing their schoolwork. Yes, the day's running down like a tired clock.
All right, now we're going to try it again. And remember, music came into the world to give us pleasure. Now we're going to try it on 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to leave the loudness to the Methodists. You couldn't beat them even if you wanted to. And we're going to try it again on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Emily!
That third problem?
Which?
Third.
Why, yes. George, that's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it. Well, Emily, could you give me a hint?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Answers in yards.
Yards? How do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh, in square yards.
Yes, George, don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Oh, I see. In square yards of wallpaper. Thanks a lot, Emily.
You're welcome. Isn't the moonlight terrible? Choir practice going on. I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the train all the way to Kentucky. Hear it?
What do you know?
Well, I guess I better go back and try to work.
Good night, Emily.
Night, George.
All right, well, that was okay, but it ain't no miracle. Now, before I forget, how many of y'all will be able to make it to the Hersey's wedding on Tuesday afternoon? I want to see a show of hands. Oh, all of you? All right, well, never mind. It didn't matter. All right, now we're going to continue. We're going to pick up with Art Thou Weary, Art Thou Languid. And remember, ladies, Art Thou Weary, Art Thou Languid is a question. Make it talk.
Oh, George, can you come down here a minute? Yes, Pa.
All right. Well, before I start, I just wanted to mention that on Sunday we're going to take the second verse and let it fade out a little bit. Fade out. Fade out. Now on 3. 1, 2.
You make yourself comfortable, George. I'll only keep you a minute. George, how old are you?
Me, I'm 16, almost 70.
And what do you want to do after school's over?
You know, Pa, I want to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
And you'll be ready to get up early and milk and feed the stock? And you'll be able to mow and hay all day?
Why, sure I will, Pa.
Well, while I was in my office today, I heard a funny sound. And what do you think it was? It was your mother chopping wood. You see your mother getting up early, cooking all day long, washing and ironing. Still, she has to go out in the backyard and chop wood. I suppose she just got tired of asking you. She just gave up and decided it was easier to do it herself. You eat her meals and you wear the clothes she keeps nice for you. You run out and play baseball. She's some hired girl we keep around the house, but that we don't like very much. All I had to do was mention it. Here's a handkerchief, son. I've decided to raise the spending money 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother, because that's sort of a present you give to her. Because, well, you're getting older. I imagine there are a lot of things you must find spending on.
Thanks, Pa.
See, tomorrow's payday, you can count on it. Rebecca will probably feel she ought to have some more, too. Wonder what's keeping your mother. Choir practice was never as late as this before.
It's only 8:30, Pa.
Why, she's in that demo choir anyway. She hasn't gotten more voice than an old crow. Traipsing around the streets at this hour of the night. Just about time you're tired, don't you think?
Yes, Pa.
Well, good night, Martha. Good night, Mrs. Forrest. I'll tell Mr. Webb. I know he'll want to put it in the paper. Good night, Irma.
Mine's late. Real nice choir practice, wasn't it? Myrtle Webb, look at that moon, will you? Potato weather for sure.
Well, naturally, I didn't want to mention anything in front of the others. But now for a low. Well, can you believe it? It's the worst scandal there ever was in this town. What? Simon Stinson.
Oh, now, Luella.
Now, Julia, to have the organist of the church drink and drunk year after year.
Oh, Luella.
But Julia, he was drunk tonight.
Now, Luella, we all know about Mr. Simpson, and we all know about the problems he's been through. And Dr. Ferguson knows too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him on there in his job, then the only thing the rest of us can do is just not to notice it.
Not to notice it, but it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir twice as long as you have, and it doesn't happen anywhere near so often.
Ma, I hate to go to bed on a night like this.
gracious, I better hurry. Those children will be sitting up till all hours. Good night, Luella. Julia.
Good night, Myrtle.
Now, Luella, can you get home safe? Oh, yes, I can see Mr. Stone scowling at the window now. You'd think you'd be to dance with him and both carry on. Well, good night, Julia.
Good night, Luella.
See you Sunday.
See you then. Well, we had a real good time.
You're late enough.
Why, Frank, it ain't any later than usual.
You stopped at the corner and gossiped with a bunch of hens.
Don't be grouchy. Come on out and smell my new year's over the moonlight. Come on, huh? Oh, isn't it wonderful?
So,
What did you do out of the way?
well, I read as usual. What were the girls gossiping about tonight?
Believe me, Frank, there was something to gossip about.
Simon Stimson far gone again, was he?
Worst I've ever seen him. How's that end, Frank? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
I don't know what'll come of it, but I think the best thing to do is just leave it alone. Some people just weren't made for small town life. Come on, get in.
No, not yet. Frank, I'm worried about you.
Julia, what are you worried about?
Well, I feel it's my duty to make plans for you to get a real rest and change. If I get that legacy, then I'm going to insist on it.
Now, Julia, there's no sense in going over that again.
Just unreasonable.
Come on, Julia, it's getting late. First thing you know, you'll catch your death of cold. I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you'll have your wood shop for a while. Oh, no, start getting upstairs.
There's just always so much to be picked up, seems like. You know, Frank, Mrs. Fairchild always locks the front door every night. All those people up that part of town do.
They're just getting sick by it, that's the trouble. Ain't got anything fit for Virgil, and everybody knows it.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window.
Well, let me look just a minute.
Use your own window.
I did, but there's no moon there. George, do you know what I think? Do you? I think the moon's getting nearer and nearer, and soon there'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon were getting nearer, the men that sit up all night with telescopes would see it first, and they'd tell us about it, and it'd be in all the newspapers.
George, is the moon shining on Canada, South America, half the whole world?
Well, I suppose so.
$9:30. Most of the lights in the town are out. Here comes Constable Warren trying a few doors along Main Street. And there's Senator Webb, after putting his newspaper to bed.
Morning, Bill. Evening, Mr. Webb.
It's quite a moon.
Why, yes, it is.
All quiet tonight?
Simon Stinson's been rolling around a little bit. I just saw his wife go out and look for him. So I looked the other way. Well, there's Simon now.
Good evening, Simon. Town seems to have settled down pretty well. I guess we better do the scene. Good evening, yes. Town settled down pretty well. Can I walk a ways along with you?
Get the hell off of me. I sure don't want to know how that's going to end, Mr. Webb.
Yeah, well, he has seemed to take in trouble. One thing after another. Oh, Billy, see my boy smoking cigarettes. Give him a word, will you? Thinks a lot of you, Bill.
Mr. Webb, I don't think your son smokes. Leastways, maybe once or twice a year.
I hope not. Evening, Jeff.
Evening, Mr. Webb.
Who is that up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, it's me, Papa.
What are you doing out of bed?
No, I don't know. I just can't sleep yet, Papa. The moonlight's so wonderful. And the smell of Mrs. Gibbs' heliotropes. Can you smell it?
Having any troubles on your mind, have you, Emily?
Troubles, Papa? No.
Well, don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Hi, Papa.
I never told you about that letter Jane Crowfoot got from her minister when she was sick. He sent Jane a letter, and on the envelope the address was like this. It said, Jane Crowfoot, Crowfoot Farm, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
What's so funny about that?
But listen, it's not finished. United States of America, continent of North America, Western Hemisphere, Earth, universe, solar system, mind of God.
What do you know?
Yep, and the postman brought it just the same.
I know. That's all the first act, friends. You'll have 5 minutes now so you can get up and stretch, but there won't be any refreshments until the end of the second. Alright, this time, 3 years have gone by, friends. Summer 1904. Summers and winters have cracked the mountains a little bit, and the rains have brought down some of that. Some babies that weren't even born before have begun talking regular sentences already. And a number of people who thought themselves quite young and spry have noticed they can't bound up a flight of stairs like they used to, without their hearts fluttering a little. Yes, all that can happen in 1,000 days. Nature's been pushing and contriving in other ways, too. A number of our young people fell in love and got married. Yes, the mountain got bit away a few fractions of an inch. Millions of gallons of water passed by the mill. And here and there, a new home was set up under a roof. So, it's 3 years later. It's July 7th, 1904, just after the high school commencement. That's the time most of our young people decide to jump up and get married. Seems as soon as they've passed their last examinations, solid geometry and Cicero's orations, they suddenly feel themselves fit to get married. Almost everybody in the world gets married. You know? In our town, there aren't hardly any exceptions. Most everyone climbs into their grave married. So, it's early morning again. Only this time it's been raining. It's been pouring thunder. Mrs. Gibbs' garden over here, and Mrs. Webb's, drenched. All those bean poles and pea vines, drenched. All yesterday, the rain looked like curtains being blown along Main Street over there. Don't know now. Maybe begin again any minute. That is the 5:10 train for Boston. And here comes Mrs. Gibbs and Mrs. Webb down the stairs to make their breakfast, just like it was an ordinary day. I don't have to point out to the ladies in this audience that both of these women they see before them, both of them cook 3 meals a day. One of them for 20 years, and the other for 40. And no summer vacation. They raised 2 children apiece, washed, cleaned the house, and never had a nervous breakdown.
Never thought themselves hard used either. It's like one of those Middle West poets used to say. You've got to love life to have life, and you've got to have life to love life. It's what they call a vicious circle.
Giddy up, man. Come on, old girl. Come on.
Here comes Howie Newsom with Bessie, delivering the milk. And there's Cy Crow, delivering the papers like his brother before him.
Morning, Howie. Oh, good morning, Si. Anything in the papers I ought to know?
Not much. Except for losing about the best baseball pitcher Coach Corner ever had.
I reckon he is.
Now all he's doing is pitching hay.
Whoa, Bessie. Guess I can stop him on mine, too.
He can hit too and run bases.
I am. Mighty fine ball player.
I don't see how he could do a thing like that just to get married. Would you have one?
Can't tell, Si. Never had no talent that way. Evening, Howie. Good morning, Bill. You're up early.
Seeing if there's anything I can do to prevent that flood. You know that river's been rising all night.
Zach Crowell here's all broken up about George Gibbs retiring from baseball.
Yes, sir. Well, you know, I guess that's just the way it goes. Back in '84, we had a player sign. You know that even George Gibbs could not touch him. I think he went all the way down to Maine and, well, he became a possum. I tell you, he was one fine ball player. How's the weather seem to you, Howie?
Oh, it ain't bad. It's been raining so hard, I think maybe cleared up for good. Think so, Bill?
Bessie?
Good morning, Miss Gibbs.
Good morning, Howie.
Too bad about the weather. It's been raining so hot, it may be clearing up.
Certainly hope it will.
So, how much did you need today?
Well, gonna have a household rations, Howie. Looks to me like I'll put 3 milk into a cream.
Yes, 3 milk and 2 cream. My wife says to tell you, we hope they'll be happy. You know they will.
Thanks a lot, Howie. Tell your wife I hope she gets to the wedding.
Maybe she can. She'll get there if she can. Good morning, Miss Webb.
Well, good morning, Mr. Newsom. I know I told you 4 quarts of milk, but I hope you can spare me another.
Yes'm. And 2 cream.
Will it start raining again, Howie?
Well, I was just over there telling Miss Gibbs how it may be clearing off. Miss Newsom told me to tell you special. That's how we know we'll be happy, Miss Webb.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Newsom, and we're counting on seeing you at church.
Yes, and we'll get through all right. Come on, girl. Bessie, come on.
Well, Ma, the day has come. You're losing one of your chicks.
Now, Frank Gibbs, don't you say another word. I feel like crying every minute.
The room's upshaved himself, only there ain't a whole lot to shave. He's singing and whistling like he's glad to leave us. Says I do to the mirror every now and then, but it doesn't sound very convincing to me.
Well, I declare, Frank, I don't know how they'll get along. I've arranged his clothes and seen to it his feet are dry and he's got warm things on. Oh, too young, Frank. Emily won't think of such things. I'll catch his death of cold within a minute.
I remember my wedding morning, Julia.
Now, don't you start with that, Frank Gibbs.
I was the scaredest young fella in the state of New Hampshire. I thought I'd made a mistake for sure. When I saw you come down that aisle, I thought you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. The trouble was, I'd never seen you before. There I was in the Congregational Church marrying a complete stranger.
And how do you think I felt? Frank, I think weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces, that's what they are. Oh, here, I made something for you.
Why, Julia Hershey, French toast.
Well, it ain't hard to make, and I had to do something.
How did you sleep last night, Julia?
Well, I heard a lot of the hours struck on.
I get a shock every time I think of George setting out to be a family man, like a great gangling thing. I tell you, there's nothing so terrifying in this world as a son. The relationship of father and son is the damnedest awkward.
Well, mother and daughter, no picnic, let me tell you.
I suppose they'll have a lot of troubles, but that ain't none of our business. Everybody has a right to their own troubles.
Oh, yeah, people are meant to live 2 by 2 in this world. Okay, natural, be lonesome.
You know, one of the the things I was scared of when I married you?
Now go along with you.
I was afraid we wouldn't have material for conversation more than it'd last us a few weeks. I was afraid we'd go out and eat our meals in complete silence. Well, we've been conversing for 20 years now without any noticeable barren spells.
Well, good weather, bad weather. Ain't very choice, but I always find something to say. Did you hear Rebecca's turning around upstairs?
No, only Dad here, Rebecca isn't managing everybody's business up there. She's hiding in her room. I got the idea she's crying.
Lord sake, this has got to stop. Rebecca! Rebecca, come get your breakfast.
Good morning, everybody. Only 4 more hours to live.
George, yes, where are you going?
Just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
Now, George, you put on your rubbers. It's raining torrents outside. Now, you don't go out of this house without you're prepared for it.
Oh, Ma, it's just a step.
You'll catch your death of cold and cough all through the service.
George, do as your mother tells you.
Now, from tomorrow on, you can kill yourself in all weathers. So while you're living in my house, you'll live wisely, thank you. Here, take a cup of coffee first.
Good morning, Mother Webb.
Good morning, George. George, you frighten me. Now, George, I hate to say it, you can stand here a minute out of the rain, but really, you understand I can't ask you in.
Why not?
Now, George, you know as well as I do that Brooke can't see his bride on the wedding day, not until he sees her in church.
It's just a superstition. Good morning, Mr. Webb. Morning, George. Mr. Webb, what common sense could there be in a superstition like that?
Well, you see, George, there is a lot of common sense in superstitions, George.
Millions have followed it. And don't you be the first to fly in the face of custom.
How's Emily?
She hasn't waked up yet. I haven't heard a sound out of her.
Emily's asleep.
Well, it's no wonder. We was up till all hours packing and sewing and such. Now I'll tell you what I'll do. You just sit down here a minute and drink this cup of coffee with Mr. Webb. And I'll run upstairs and see that she don't come down and surprise you. There's the bacon too. Don't be long about it.
So, George, how are you?
I'm fine. Mr. Webb, what common sense could there be in a superstition like that?
Well, you see, George, on a wedding morning, a girl's heads have to be full of, clothes and one thing and another. Don't you think that's probably it?
Yes, I never really thought of that.
Girls have to be mighty nervous on a wedding day.
Which a person could get married without all that marching up and down.
Oh, every man who's ever lived has felt that way, George, but it ain't been any use. The woman folk have built up weddings, my boy. For a while now, they have it all to themselves. Think of it, a man looks pretty small at a wedding. Although a good woman, standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure the knot's tied in a mighty public way.
Well, you believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Oh, yes, now, don't misunderstand me, George. Marriage is a wonderful thing, a wonderful thing. Don't you forget that.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
You see, I'd been away to college. Taking some time to get settled. But Mrs. Webb, she wasn't much older than what Emily is. Oh, age hasn't got as much to do with it as other things.
What were you going to say, Mr. Webb?
I don't know, was I going to say something? George, I was remembering the other day the advice my father gave me the night I got married.
Charles, he said?
Start right off by showing her who's boss. Best thing to do is give an order. Doesn't matter if it makes sense, just so she'll learn to obey. And he said that. If anything about her ever irritates you, her conversation or anything, get right up and leave that room. That'll make it clear to her. And oh yes, he said, never let your wife know how much money you have. Never.
Well, I couldn't exactly do that.
So I took the opposite of his advice, and I've been happy ever since. So let that be a lesson to you, George. Never take the advice of others on personal matters. George, are you raising chickens on your farm?
What?
Are you raising chickens on your farm?
Well, Uncle Luke's never gone in much for chickens, but I...
Well, a book came into my office the other day, George, on the philo system of raising chickens. It's really quite interesting. Wish you'd read it. I'm thinking of starting a small way myself out in the backyard. I'm gonna build an incubator in the cellar, and from there I'm gonna...
Charles Webb! Are you still talking about that incubator?
Myrtle, if you want to give the boy some good advice, I think I'll just go upstairs.
George, Emily's got to come down and eat her breakfast. She sends you her love, but she doesn't want to lay her eyes on you.
Why? Myrtle, guess you don't know about that older superstition.
What do you mean, Charles?
Since the day of the caveman, no bridegroom should see his father-in-law on the day of the wedding or anywhere near it. Now remember that.
Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Webb. Now I have to interrupt again here. You see, we want to know how all this began. This wedding, this plan to spend a lifetime together. You all know how it is. You're 21 or 22. And you make some decisions and then you're 70. You've been a lawyer for 50 years. And that white-haired lady by your side has eaten over 50,000 meals with you. How do such things begin? George and Emily are going to show you now the conversations they first had when they knew, as the saying goes, they were meant for one another. But before they do that, I'd like you to try and remember what it was like when you were young. And particularly the days when you were fast in love. When you didn't quite hear everything that was said here, and you didn't quite see the street that you were walking in. You're just a little bit crazy. Will you remember that, please? Well, George and Emily will be coming out of high school at 3 o'clock. This is June, and since George has just been elected class president, that means he'll be president of the senior class all the next year. And Emily's just been elected secretary and treasurer. There they are coming down Main Street now.
Oh, I can't, Louise. I've got to go home. Bye. Oh, Ernestine! Ernestine! Can you come over tonight and do Latin? Isn't that Cicero the worst thing? But tell your mother you have to. Goodbye. Goodbye, Helen. Goodbye, Fred.
Can I carry your books home for you, Emily?
Well, thank you. It isn't far.
Excuse me a second, Emily, will you? Say, Bob! If I'm a little late, start practice without me. Can't hurt some of those long, high ones.
Bye, Lizzie.
Oh, goodbye, Lizzie. I'm awful glad you were elected too, Emily.
Thank you.
why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
You've been treating me so funny lately.
Well, since you asked me, you might as well say it right out. George? Goodbye, Miss Cochran.
Oh, bye, Miss Cochran. What is it?
I don't like the whole change that's come over you in the past year. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I've just gotta tell the truth and shame the devil.
A change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot, and I used to watch you while you did everything because we've been friends for so long. Well, then you began spending all your time at baseball, and you never stopped to speak to anybody, not to really speak, not even to your own family you didn't. And George, it's a fact. Well, ever since you've been elected captain, you've gotten awful stuck up and conceited. All the girls say so. It hurts me to hear him say it. I've got to agree with them a little because it's true.
Gosh, Emily, I never thought that such a thing was happening to me. I guess it's hard for a fellow not to have some faults creep into his character.
Well, I always expect a man to be perfect, but I think he should be.
I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
My father is. As far as I can see, your father is. There's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be too.
I always thought it was the other way around. That men were naturally good, but girls were.
You might as well know right now that I'm not perfect. It's not as easy for a girl to be perfect as a man. We girls are more nervous. George, no, I'm sorry I said all that about you. Well, I don't know what made me say it.
Emily?
No, I can see that it's not the truth at all. I certainly feel that it's not important anyway.
Emily, would you like an ice cream soda or something before you go home?
I would.
Hello, Stu. How are you? Good afternoon, Mrs. Slocum.
Hello, George. Hello, Emily. What do you have? Why, Emily Webb, what have you been crying about?
She had an awful scare, Mr. Morgan. That hardware store wagon almost ran over her. Everybody says Tom Huckins drives like a crazy man.
Here, take a good drink of water, Emily. I tell you, you look all shook up. I tell you, you got to look both ways before you cross Main Street these days. Gets worse every year. What do you have?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate, Mr. Morgan.
Oh no, Emily. Have an ice cream soda with me.
Well,
2 strawberry ice cream sodas, Mr. Morgan.
2 strawberry ice cream sodas. Yes, sir. Let me tell you, there are over 225 horses in Grove's cars. This minute I'm talking to you. State inspector was in here yesterday. Now that they're bringing in these automobiles, best thing to do is just stay home. Why? I can remember when a dog used to be able to lie in the middle of Main Street all day, and nothing ever come to disturb it. Hey, Doc. Yes, Miss Ellis, be with you in a minute.
they're so expensive.
No, Emily. You don't think of that. We're celebrating our election. And you know what else I'm celebrating?
No.
I'm celebrating because I've got a friend who tells me all the things I ought to be told.
Oh, George, please don't think of that. Well, it's not true. I don't know what made me say it.
No, Emily. You stick to it. I'm glad you spoke to me like you did. But you'll see. I'm going to change so quick, bet I'm gonna change. And Emily, I want to ask you a favor.
What?
If I go away to State Agriculture College next year, will you write me a letter once in a while?
I certainly will. I certainly will, George. It certainly seems like being away for years. I might get out of touch with things. Maybe letters from Farmers Corners wouldn't be so interesting after a while. Farmers Corners isn't a very important place when you think of all New Hampshire. I think it's a very nice town.
The day wouldn't come when I wouldn't want to know everything about our town, Emily. I know that's true.
I'll try to make the letters interesting.
You know, Emily, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if he thinks it's important to go to agriculture school to be a good farmer.
Why, George.
Yeah, and some of them even say it's a waste of time. You can get all that stuff anyway in the pamphlets the government sends out. And Uncle Luke's getting old, and he's just about ready for me to start taking over the farm tomorrow if I could.
My.
And like you say, Emily, being gone all that time in other towns and meeting other people, gosh, if anything like that can happen, I don't want to go away. Guess new people aren't any better than the old. Bet they almost never are. Emily, you're just about as good as friends as I've got. I don't need to go to other towns to meet other people.
George, maybe it's very important for you to go and learn about cattle judging and soil and all that. Of course, I don't know.
Emily, I'm going to make up my mind right now. I won't go. I'll tell Pa about it tonight.
George, I don't see why you have to decide right now. It's a whole year away.
Emily, I'm glad you spoke to me about that fault in my character. What you said was right. There's one thing wrong with it. That's where you said I wasn't noticing people. And you, for instance, why you say you were watching me when I did everything. I was doing the same about you all the time. Why, sure. I always thought of you as one of the chief people I thought about. I always made sure where you were sitting on the bleachers and who you were with. For 3 days now, I've tried to walk home with you, but something's always gone the way. Yesterday, I was standing by that wall over there and walked home with Mrs. Cochran.
Oh, George. Well, life's awful funny. How could I have known that? I thought you were going to go with Joe or something.
I'm going to tell you why I'm not going away to agriculture school. I think that once you found a person that you're very fond of, I mean, a person who's fond of you too, and cares about you enough to notice your character, well, I think that's just as important as going to agriculture school. Or so.
I think that's very important, George.
Emily, if I do make a big change, and I do improve, will you be? I mean, could you be?
What am I now? What happened?
So I guess this is a pretty important talk we've been having.
Yes. Yes.
Hold on a second, and I'll walk you home, Emily. I'll have to go home to get the money for this, Mr. Morgan. What's that? George Gibbs, do you? I had reasons. Look, here's my watch to hold until I get back.
That's all right, George. Keep your watch. I'll trust you.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'll trust you 10 years, George. Not a day over.
I'm ready.
Got all over your shark, Emily?
Yes, Mr. Morgan. Thank you.
Well, now we'll get on with the wedding. You know, there are a lot of things to be said about a wedding. There are a lot of thoughts that go on during a wedding. We can't get them all into one wedding, naturally. Especially not into a wedding here at Grover's Commons. Well, weddings are mighty short. Yes? For a while now, the play gets pretty serious. You know, some churches say that marriage is a sacrament. Well, I don't quite know what that means, but I can guess. It's like what Mrs. Gibbs said a few minutes ago. People are meant to go through life 2 by 2. This is a good wedding. The people are pretty young, but they come from a good state, and they chose right. The real hero of this scene isn't on the stage at all. And you all know who that is. It's like one of those European fellas said. Every child born into this world is nature's attempt to make a perfect human being. Well, we've seen nature pushing and contriving for quite some time now. We all know she's interested in quantity, but I think that she's interested in quality too. Maybe she's trying to make another good governor for New Hampshire. That's what Emily hopes. And don't forget the other witnesses of this wedding. The ancestors. Millions of them. Most of them set out to live 2 by 2 as well. Millions of them. Well, that's all my sermon. Wasn't very long anyway. There used to be an awful lot of that sort of things. Weapons in the old days, Roman later. We're more civilized now. So they say. George, take this woman, Emily.
Perfectly lovely wedding. Oh, I do love a good wedding, don't you? Doesn't she make a lovely bride?
I do.
Do you, Emily, take this man, George.
Don't know when I've seen such a lovely wedding, but I always cry. Don't know why, but I always cry. I guess I just love to see young people happy, don't you? Oh, this is lovely.
I do.
I've married over 200 couples in my day. Do I believe in it? I don't know. I suppose I do. And Mary said, millions of them. The cottage, the go-kart, the Sunday afternoon drives in the fall, the first rheumatism, the grandchildren, the second rheumatism, the deathbed, the reading of the will. Sometimes it's interesting.
Don't they make a lovely couple? I'm sure they'll be happy. I always say, happiness, that's the great thing. The important thing is to be happy.
That's the end of the second act, folks. 15 minutes intermission, and as I said, there'll be refreshments outside if you like. 9 years have gone by, friends. Summer 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rare. Farmers coming into town now in the fall. Everybody locks their house doors now at night. Ain't been any burglars yet, but we've all heard about it. You'd be surprised, though. On the whole, things don't change much here. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop, a windy hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. You come up here on a clear day, you can see way John Range here. Awful blue they are. Up there by Lake Centipede and Lake Winnipesaukee. And if you go way up where the White Mountains and Mount Washington is, you can get there Conway and North Conway. Our favorite mountain, Mount Monadnocks, right here. And all around it lie these towns. Jaffrey, and North Jaffrey, and Peterborough, and Dublin. And there, if you go quite a ways down, is Grover's Corners. Yes, certainly a nice spot up here. Mountain laurel, lilacs. I often wonder why people would like to be buried in Woodlawn and Brooklyn when they might spend the same time up here in New Hampshire. Over there, the old stones, 1660 to 1670. They're strong-minded people that come a long way to be independent. Some people walk around there laughing at the tombstones and the funny names written on them. And don't do no harm, I guess. And genealogists get paid by people from Boston for coming and looking up their ancestors. They want to make sure they're daughters of the American Revolution or of the Mayflower. Well, I don't suppose that does any harm either. Over here, right there, some Civil War veterans. Iron flags on their graves. Good old New Hampshire boys. They had no notion that the Union ought to be kept together. Well, they'd never seen more than 50 miles of themselves. All they knew was the name, friends. The United States of America. The United States of America. And they wouldn't die about it. Over here is the new Palace Cemetery. There's your friend, Mrs. Gibbs, and Mr. Stevenson, organist of the Congregational Church. Oh, what a lie. Mrs. Soames, who enjoyed the wedding so much. And at a wedding pool, Wallace, his appendix burst on a Boy Scout camping trip up to Crawford Notch. Yes. An awful lot of sorrows just sort of quieted down around here. People just wild. They brought their relatives up to this hill, and then times, sunny days, rainy days, snow. Y'all know how it is. A lot of thoughts come up here, night and day. But there's no post office. Now, there's some things that we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often. We all know that something is a time. And it ain't houses, and it ain't names, and it ain't even the stars. We all know down in our boat that something is a time. And that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people that ever lived have been telling us that for over 5,000 years. And yet you'd be surprised how people are always letting go of that fact. There's something way down deep that's a time about every human being. You know, the dead don't stay interested in us living folks for very long. Gradually, they let go hold of you. And the pleasures they had, and the ambitions they had, and the things they suffered, and the people they loved. They get weaned away from the earth. That's how I put it, weaned away. And all that time, they slowly get indifferent to what's going on and grow as cars. They're waiting. They're waiting for something they feel is coming. Something important and great. Aren't they waiting for the eternal part in them to come out clear? Some of the things they're going to say, maybe it'll hurt your feelings, but that's the way it is. Mother and daughter, husband and wife, money and miser, enemy and enemy, all those terribly important things kind of grow pale around here. And what's left? What's left when your memory's gone? And your identity, Mrs. Smith? Here are some living people. There's Joe Stoddard, our undertaker, supervising a new made grave. And there's Sam Craig, a Grover's college boy that left town to go out west.
Good afternoon, Joe Stoddard.
Good afternoon. Well, let me see now. Do I know you?
I'm Sam Craig.
Gracious sakes alive, of all people. I should have known you'd be back for the funeral, Sam. You've been away a long time.
Yes, I've been away over 12 years. I'm in business out in Buffalo now, Joe. I was in the East when I got news of my cousin's death, so I thought I'd combine things a little and come see the old home. You look well.
Yes, I can't complain. Very sad our journey today, Samuel.
Yes.
I always say I hate to supervise when such a young person is taken. They'll be here in a few minutes now. I had to come early today. My son's supervising at home.
Old Farmer Craig. I used to do chores right after school. He had a little better.
Yes, we brought Farmer McCarthy out here a number of years ago.
Why, this is my Aunt Julia. I almost forgot that she... Yes, of course.
Yes, Dog Jens lost his wife 2 or 3 years ago, about this time. Today's another pretty bad blow for him, too.
That's my sister Carrie's boy, Sam. Sam Craig.
I'm always uncomfortable when they're around.
Now, Simon.
Do they choose their own person, Mr.
No, not usual. Mostly the Braves take the Mercs.
Doesn't sound like Aunt Julia. There aren't many of those Ursus sisters left now. Let me see. I've always... Where are my father and mother's...
Over with the Craigs. Avenue F.
He was the organist of the old church. Triangle Hop used to say.
Yes, nobody was supposed to know about that. Seen a picture of him. Took his own life.
grade's going to be here.
Yes, there ain't much room over in the kitchen, so they have to open up a whole new kitchen section. You'll excuse me now, I see it coming.
Who is it, Julia?
My daughter-in-law, Emily Webb.
Well, I declare, the road up here must have been awfully muddy. When did she die of, Julia?
In childhood.
In childbirth? I'd forgotten that one. Wasn't life awful and wonderful?
Oh, wonderful, was it?
Now, Simon, remember.
I remember Emily's wedding. Perfectly lovely wedding. And I remember she read the class poem at graduation exercises. Emily was the brightest girl that ever graduated from high school. I've heard Princess Wilkins say so time after time. I called on them in their farm right before I died. Perfectly beautiful farm. That farm was right down the road from ours. I didn't see the farm.
I've always loved that hill. I was hoping they'd sing that hymn.
Hello, Mother Gibbs. Hello. It's raining.
Yes. They'll be gone soon, dear. Just rest yourself.
Seems thousands and thousands of years since I... How can I remember that was my favorite hymn? How do you do, Mr. Stinson?
How do you do, Em?
Mother Gibbs, George and I have made that farm. It's just the best place you ever saw. I thought of you all the time. I wanted to show you the new barn and the great long cement drinking fountains and stuff. We bought that out of the money you left us.
I did.
Yes, Mother Gibbs, don't you remember? The legacy you left us. The fire was over $350.
Yes. Yes, I did.
Well, there's a patent device on this room, so that it never overflows when it is, and it never seems below a certain mark they have there. Well, it's fine. It won't be the same to George without me. But it's a lovely farm. Black people understand.
Not very much.
They're just sort of shut up in little boxes, aren't they? I feel as though I knew them last 1,000 years ago. My boy is spending the day at Mr. Carter's. Oh, Mrs. Carter, my little boy is spending the day at your house.
Is he?
Yes, he loves it there. We have a forge, you mother kids. Never gives any trouble. I don't brag, though. Gibbs. Where does this feeling go away? Being one of them. How long does it...
You're just wait to be patient.
I know. Look. They're finished. They're going. Oh, look. Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you. Looks just like George, doesn't he? Mother Gibbs. Never realized before. Troubled and how in the dark my persons are. Look at him. I loved him so. in life, that's all they are. Troubles.
Little cooler than it was. The rain's cooled it off some. Those northeast winds always do the same thing, don't they? A chain of rain is a 3-day flood.
But Mother Gibbs, one can go back. One can go back there into living. I feel it. I know it. Just then there for a minute I was thinking about the farm, and for a moment I was there. My baby was on my lap, plain as day.
Of course you can.
I can go and live all those days over again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't. Don't do it, Emily. It isn't what you think it would be.
But it's true, isn't it? Why can go and live back there again?
Yes, some have tried, but they soon come back here.
Emily, don't do it.
I won't live over a sad day. I'll choose a happy one. I'll choose the day I first knew I loved George. Oh, no. No. Why should that be painful?
Because you not only live it, but you see yourself living it.
Yes.
And as you live it, you see the thing that they down there never know. You see the future. You know what's going to happen afterwards.
But is that painful? Why?
Emily, that's not the only reason why you shouldn't do it. When you've been here longer, you'll see that. Our life here is to forget all of that, to look forward to only what is ahead, and to be ready for what is ahead. When you've been here longer, you'll understand.
But Mother Gibbs, how can I ever forget that life? It's all I know. It's all I had.
Don't do it, Emily. Really, it isn't wise.
It's a thing I must know for myself. I'll choose a happy day anyway.
No. At least choose an unimportant day. Choose the least important day in your life. It will be important enough.
Well, it can't be since I was married. Since the baby was born. I can choose a birthday, can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
All right then. It's February 11th, 1899. Did you want any special time of day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
All right then. We'll begin at dawn. You remember, it had been snowing for several days, but they had begun clearing the roads. The sun's coming up.
There's Main Street. And there's Mr. Morgan's drugstore before he changed it. And there's the livery stable.
Yes, this is 1899. It's 14 years ago.
And that's the town I knew as a little girl. Oh, look. It's the old white fence that used to surround our house. Oh, I'd forgotten that. I love it so. Are they inside?
Yes, your mother will be coming downstairs in a minute to get breakfast. And you remember, your father had been away for several days. He came home on the early morning train.
No.
He'd been back to his college in Western New York, at Clinton, to make a speech.
Well, there's Howie Newsom. And there's our policeman. But he's dead. Well, he died.
Good morning, Bill. Morning, Howie. You're up early. Been down rescuing a party, down by the poet's town there. laying the snowdrifts. Thought he wasn't bad when I shook him.
There's Joe Crow.
Morning, Howie. Morning, Mr. Moore.
Oh, morning, Joe. Oh, thanks.
Children, Wally, Emily, time to get up. 7 o'clock.
Mama, I'm here. How young Mama looks. I didn't know Mama was ever that young.
You can come and rest by the kitchen fire if you like, but hurry. Good morning, Miss Livingston.
Morning, Miss Webb.
Ooh, it's cold.
Yep, 10 below my bomb. I'm up.
Think, keep yourself wrapped up.
We'll do, Miss Webb. Come on, Bessie.
Mama, I can't find my blue hair ribbon anywhere.
Just open your eyes, dear, that's all. I laid it out for you special on the dresser. If it were a snake, it'd bite you.
Morning, Bill. Oh, good morning, Mr. Webb. You're up early this morning.
Just been back to my old college at the Hamilton College. New York State. Any trouble here?
I went down this morning and rescued a poet fella. I down near froze to death. It's terrible.
You must get it in the paper.
No, it ain't much, Mr. Webb. Good day.
Good morning, Mother.
Well, how'd it go, Charles?
I'm fine, I guess I told him a few things. Everything all right here?
Mm-hmm. Nothing that's happened special. Been right cold. Howie Newsom says it's 10 below over in his barn.
Yeah, well, it's colder than that up to Hamilton College. Students' ears are falling off. He ain't Christian. Paper have any mistakes in it?
None that I noticed. Coffee's ready when you want it. Now, Charles, don't forget, it's Emily's birthday. Did you remember to get her anything?
Oh, yes, I've got something right here in my pocket. Where is my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Charles, don't interrupt her now. She's slow enough as it is. You can see her breakfast. Hurry up, children. Now, I don't want to call you again. 7 o'clock.
I can't bear it. They're so young and beautiful. Did they ever have to get old? Mama, I'm here. I love you all, everything. I can't look at everything hard enough. Can I go in? Morning, Mama.
Well, now, dear, very happy birthday to my girl and many happy returns. There's some surprises waiting for you on the kitchen table.
Oh, Mama, you shouldn't have. I can't.
But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat your breakfast good and slow. I want you to grow up to be a good, strong girl. That and the blue papers from your Aunt Carrie. And I reckon you can guess who brought the postcard album. George Gibbs. Must have come over in the cold pretty early for an accident.
George, I'd forgotten that.
Chew that bacon good and slow. It'll help keep you warm on a cold day.
Oh, Mama, just look at me 1 minute as though you really saw me. 14 years ago, my Mama. Why, I'm dead. You're a grandmother, Mama. I married George Gibbs, Mama. Ollie's dead, too. Zip Hennigs and her son at camp and trip to Crawford Knox. We all felt just terrible about it, don't you remember? Just for a moment now, we're all together. Just for a moment, we're happy. Let's look at one another.
That in the yellow paper, something I found in the attic among your grandmother's things. You're old enough to wear it now, and I thought you'd like it.
it's just lovely. That's just what I wanted. It's beautiful.
Well, I'd hope you'd like it. Hunt it all over. Your Aunt Nora couldn't find one in Concord, so I just sent all the way to Boston. Oh, Wally has something for you, too. He made it in manual training class, and he's very proud of it. Oh, your father has a surprise. Don't know what it is myself. Shh, here he comes.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
I can't go on. It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. I realize all that was going on. I never noticed. Take me back. Up the hill to my grave. That first wait. One last look. Goodbye. Goodbye, world. Goodbye, Grover's Corners. Your mama and papa. Goodbye, the clock's ticking. And my butternut tree. And food and coffee. And sleeping and waking up. Oh, Earth. You're too wonderful for anyone to ever realize you. Only human beings will realize life while they live it. Every minute.
No. Saints, poets, maybe. They do some.
Go back.
Were you happy?
No. I should have listened to you. It's all human beings are. Just blind people.
Look, Emily, it's clearing up. The stars are coming out.
And Mr. Simpson, I should have listened to them.
Oh, yes, oh, yes. Now you know, Emily. Now you know that that's what it was to be alive. To move about in a cloud of ignorance. To go up and down, trampling on feelings of those about you. To spend and waste time as though you had 1,000,000 years. Yes, that's the happy existence that you wanted to go back to. All it is ignorance and blindness.
Simon Stimson, that ain't the whole truth and you know it. Emily, look at that star. I forget its name. My boy Joel was a sailor. Knew 'em all. He used to sit on the porch evenings and tell 'em all by name. Yes, sir, wonderful. The star's mighty fine company. Yes, yes it is.
Now there's one of them coming right now.
That's funny. She ain't no time for them to be there.
Goodness.
And the kids. It's George.
Just rest yourself.
It's George.
And my boy Joel, who knew the stars, used to say that it took 1,000,000 years for that tiny bit of light to get down to Earth. Doesn't seem like a body could believe it, but that's what he used to say. Millions of years.
Goodness, it's not the way a person ought to act.
He ought to be home.
Other kids.
Yes, Emily?
They don't understand, do they?
No, dear. They don't understand.
Everyone's asleep in Grover's Corners. There are a few lights on. Shorty Hawkins down at the depot has just watched the Albany train collide. And over at the livery stable, someone's setting up late to talk. Yes, it's clear now. There's the stars. Going there, oh, crisscrossing the sky. You know, scholars haven't settled the matter yet, but they seem to think that there are no living beings up there, just chocolate. Or 5, 7, except there's this one that's straining away all the time just to make itself heard. The strain is so great that every 16 hours or so, everybody has to lie down and get a rest. It's 11 o'clock in Grover's Corners. Everyone's asleep in Grover's Corners. You'll get a good rest too. Tomorrow's going to be another day. Good night.